Yes. When you look at the pyramids, there had a guy called, I think it was Tompkins back in the 1930s, who said that when you measure this here and that there and you get this number, that is the circumference of the earth. When you measure this and you measure that, you get the grand cycle, which is the diurnal cycle of the solar system, which is 25,000, 26,000 so much years, right? And you go on and it had all kinds of details for day and night and all kinds of things.
And then the astronomical alignment.
And then the astronomical alignment, which is another story.
The Orion belt.
The Orion belt, yes. You see? So what you're dealing with is you're dealing with people who we are now catching up on. We're now beginning to understand what it is they were doing. And the only way we could understand that is because we've now reached back at that intelligence.
Reacquiring it.
Yeah. And then you talk about all the places around the earth where they have old high levels of radiation. And you see, when you look at it, you see something in right here. I went to Bahrain, and I'm going down the road on in the car, and I see a bunch of guys out on the road they're using a public vehicle, and they have the things they used to drill concrete, a jackhammer, and the guy's jackhammering the ground. So I said to one of the guys, he says, why are they jackhammering that? He said, well, the whole of Bahrain is rock, right?
To build anything.
So if you're going to plant a tree, because that's what they were doing, you had to jackhammer a hole 4-6 feet deep, fill it with manure and things like that, and then plant the tree. Otherwise, the tree ain't growing. That's why it's desert. So I say, stop a minute. So I stopped and I went out, and I picked up a piece of the rock that they were digging out. And it was fused. It was volcanic. It was fused. But it was fused in a funny kind of way. So he asked me, he said, what are you looking at? I said, well, if I didn't know better, I would say that this rock got like this because of the high heat that was around at that time. He said, what kind of heat? I said, boy, as a person who studied physics, I would say, this looked like some kind of nuclear explosion or something like that. And he said, you just have some weird things to say. I said, no, if this whole area like that, almost this whole island, that is not a normal thing,
Because even if it's rock, it wouldn't get sediment because of the sun and that kind of thing. So it will have areas that are not as hard as the other parts.
So I go along, and 5 or 6 years later, I'm reading a book about North India, and they're talking about Mohenjo-Daro, City of the Dead, where they were excavating it, and they found corpses in the square, rolled up like that, like they were trying to get away from something, fused, calcified. And the levels of radiation in that area was way higher than anywhere around, thousands of years later. So the guy says, that was a place that had a nuclear explosion. So you realize that we've had nuclear wars before on this planet. So berberine, right, which is golden seal, so you use that. Then you have chard. Chard is like arugula and those things.
Okay,
There's our greens, yes.
Green,
Yeah. Chard, a 2000 year study found that chard extract given to diabetic rats stimulates the recovery of injured beta cells.
So like cell recovery.
Cell recovery.
Right.
Cell recovery means better insulin, means better sugar. This one will knock you out. Corn silk.
Yeah.
The hairs in the corn. A 2009 study found that corn silk reduces blood sugar and stimulates beta cell regeneration in type 1 diabetes.
Yes, and it has happy side effects.
Now the thing about it is that I came upon an article about 3 years ago where they were talking about that people with type 1 diabetes in India, they put under a very simple operation, and a certain extract from some herbs was introduced into the pancreas, which regenerated the islets of Langerhans, which were the cells that creates the insulin. And they had something like a 65 to 70% success ratio of it. That is going on in India. You don't hear nothing about it outside.
Yeah, because they're patented.
Yeah, not only that, there's another aspect to it too. Any country that is not in Europe or is not America, right?
That's a first world nation.
Anything that they do don't work, and they just lie. and it ain't true. And we ain't going to publish it.
Yeah.
So you're going to keep on using insulin for the rest of your life.
And when they're telling us that they're sending the researchers down there to find out. what they
Of
do.
course,
Yeah.
as always.
Yeah.
You know, the Nigerian witch doctors about 10 years ago formed a union
Okay.
with rules.
Yeah.
And they say anytime a white man come into Nigeria to search herbs,
Yeah.
the first thing that is showing is a non-disclosure agreement.
Yeah.
And I think any discovery you make from any herb that we show you, we have to get royalties from it. They finally got smart.
Yeah.
They
They're
finally,
protecting the knowledge, yeah.
they're protecting the knowledge. You know, so it isn't that they don't have the knowledge is there. I know that there's a herb in Nigeria and Central Africa that cures sickle cell anemia.
Okay.
They attempted to make a big factory of it in Nigeria, and the fellas thief out the money and it never happened. But it's there. And so I am saying that the other day I was reading, and I found out that that little country just north of South Africa there, they have the government, and they sell seeds. You know, and the next thing is I have to take my time and dig that out and find out if I can get those seeds. You know, because they had to fix them in a certain way to import them and things like that. Because that is what we should be doing. That kind of stuff, the Ministry of Agriculture, that's what you should be doing. You should be traveling around the world
And gathering stuff.
and finding fruit trees that we don't have because it have endless fruit.
Yes.
I'm in a market in Taiwan, I pass in a big green thing. I said, go and look at Granny Smith apples. Give me 2 kilograms of that. So I take it and I put it in a bag and I go on in the hotel, pack it up. So I get up in the morning and say, well, I might have an apple before I go down and wash it. When I do so, I bite. It's a dongs. It was a dongs the size of a small Granny Smith apple. It looked almost exactly like Granny Smith apple. I said, whoa, you know. So we import apples all the time. Right in Venezuela, they have apples that grow in the tropics,
Yeah.
you know. So we said, well, go across there and import some seed and take off some of the strain imports.
Yeah.
Right? Years ago, I found out there's a guy in Belmont that have an apple tree. I don't know if they still have it, growing in the yard. And what he did is he dropped seeds that he had from ordinary apple coming from north, and some of them grew. And they reached fruition and they started bearing. Then somebody said, well, let's go and buy the seeds from him and propagate a whole thing. And so next thing is we have apple. I live in San Fernando. There's some people right under the Presbyterian Church. They have grapes, big white grapes. It's been there since I was small. I passed the other day and it was bearing.
So it can grow here.
Yeah, it can grow and grow quite successfully.
But I've never seen grapes on any of the vines.
Oh yeah, I've seen big bunches of grapes.
Yeah.
You know. And that grapevine has been there for 60 years and it's still bearing.
Somebody knows what to do.
Somebody know what they're doing, right? At one time they started having a drive for it, but like all things, we don't really have a society that plans where we're going to be 5 years from now, where we're going to be 10 years from now, where we're going to be 20 years from now. That's not going and building a whole heap of skyscrapers in Port of Spain and saying there's a 20-year plan. That is not a 20-year plan.
A lot of people look at what is happening in China now, and they feel that that just happened overnight. But they planned that 50 years ago.
This is you want to look ahead for the next 5 years. Plant food.
Yes.
You want to look beyond that. Plant trees. You want to look for over 50 years. Plant people. In other words, plant people who will have the constructive mind to decide where we're going on a total area.
And sustainability.
In the 80s, I had a farm in Wallerfield. I bring in seeds, cauliflower seeds and broccoli seeds, and I plant it. And I drive my little van down into the wholesale market. And the fellow says, whoo boy, where you import these from? And I look at it and says, import? I said, that growing here. That does grow here? Oh, good. I sell it out at a good price, right? Sometimes I can get the seeds, sometimes I can't get the seeds. You understand? Cauliflower, broccoli, the little one, Brussels sprouts.
Yes.
All them things could grow here. Why don't we stimulate that?
Well, I know that a lot of our farmers, they're into the short crops. Quick
That
money.
it is killed with pesticides.
Quick money.
Who have a program on television saying, listen, you have to use this pesticide, this is how you use it minimal. Because if you do that, it is not what you will do only to the people who eating it, you're doing it to the people who spraying it, which is you.
Yeah. And then you're affecting the aquifer. It's soaking into the ground, getting into the groundwater. And then everybody downstream getting a dose.
And then the other one that you have that helps to drop the blood sugar is our good friend turmeric. See it all over the place.
Turmeric, yes.
He found that, yeah, that a 2010 study found that curcumin stimulates beta cell regeneration in type 1 diabetes rats. Additionally, a 2008 study found that curcumin preserves pancreatic islet cell survival and transplantation efficiency.
All right, question.
Mhm.
If something is beneficial for type 1 diabetes, it will be equally beneficial for type 2? Or is two different?
Well, in this case, it would be beneficial because you're talking about keeping the islets of Langerhans working properly, right? And anytime you have a type 2 diabetic and the body is trying to produce extra insulin and get on a street, after a while it gets destroyed. That is why you have people, and for years they'll use metformin or whatsoever it is, you know. But after a while, that would tend to deteriorate and lose its effect, especially if they're still loading up on sugar and carbs.
Right.
You
And
know.
Then you have kidney damage. And,
So you say, why don't we really put the government station that we have to work and say, let us have cooking classes to what to eat and encourage farmers to plant certain things so that the market gets full up with a greater variety of stuff and educate people what to eat. So when I go to my Baptist festivals and things like that, I do see a set of big fat women, all of them with diabetes. You understand?
Yeah.
I know they're gonna get vexed with me, but it's the truth. Right? Yeah, answer it.
What is it? I can't say that.
I tell the spiritual mother, I say, oh God, look at that. And look at the stuff you're cooking.
Yes.
Right? Big set of cake and bread and all kinds of things.
Girl, I know how to make it over here. Chemical laden vegetables here. Estrogen laden chicken there.
All right. And then you have a product in soy and red clover.
Soy and red food.
Yeah, red clovers grow everywhere. You know, red clover is a little plant,
Yeah.
shrub, and it has bear bright red flowers all the year round,
Yeah.
right? Little bunches on it, right? It has so much uses.
Yeah, yeah.
You know,
I have,
good for menstrual problems and all kinds of things. Well, it turns out that it's also good that the genestin inside it induces pancreatic beta cells proliferation and activation of multiple signaling pathways, prevents insulin deficient diabetes in mice. So it doesn't only help to increase the islets of Langerhans, but it also helps some of the pathways by which you have diabetes. One of these days I must do a little bit of things on
this
diabetes.
actually promotes the actual repair
Yes,
of
yes.
the damaged areas.
And listen to this one. This one is really, really interesting. Honey. A 2010 study found that long-term consumption of honey might have positive effects on the metabolic derangements of type 1 diabetes, including possible beta cell regeneration as indicated by an increase in fasting C-peptide levels, which is one of the measurements that will give you a true aspect of the insulin usage in the body.
Right.
Is do a C-peptide test, not a C-reactive test.
So yeah, it recommended that let honey be your sweetener.
Yes. Use a little honey. Use a little honey.
You use the bottle. a little half a teaspoon.
Yes, yes. And then Nigella sativa, black seed.
Yeah.
Well, you know, in the Muslim community, black seed oil is a miracle oil. It does do so much different things.
Yeah.
But they say they use the black seed. A 2003 animal study found that black seed consumption leads to partial regeneration and proliferation of beta cells. A 2010 human study also found that the consumption of 1 gram of black seed per day for up to 12 weeks has a broad range of beneficial effects in diabetes,
Okay.
diabetics. generally.
Yeah,
So it works to improve the cell reception insulin, the cell ability to carry insulin into the cell, all these things.
So this the black seed oil is an extract
It's an extract of
from the black
yes.
seed, and the black seed is
I was talking to this on the radio the other day, and a fellow calls me up and he says, all right, tell me about the black seed oil. I said, I didn't say black seed oil. I said black seed. And I kept saying black seed, and he kept saying, all right, black seed oil. I said, no, the seed itself. I said the oil might have certain qualities, but here they're talking about the seed. So it means the seed might have qualities that you don't find in the oil.
because the oil is an extract.
The oil is an extract.
So it leaves a lot behind.
Yes. So I finally think I got him listening to what I was saying.
But one of these days we'll get into how we prepare the seed to come, or you just eat it like you eat like pumpkin seed or something.
Consumption of 1 gram of black seed a day.
Oh, just eat it.
So you probably could just sprinkle it on your oats and tear it up, you know. And then you have stevia. That one kicked me. Stevia is one of those artificial sweeteners.
Yeah.
It's made from it have a little vine and it bears the leaves.
Yeah.
And if you have a stevia plant, you could pick it. One of my patients brought me a stevia plant the other day. You pick it and you put it in your mouth and you chew it, and it's sweet.
Okay.
Right? There's a plant from the Andes.
Okay.
They've been using it for umpteen thousand years. Right? So they say a human study found that stevia has anti-diabetic properties, including revitalizing damaged beta cells, and compares favorably with the drug glibenclamide. So if you take stevia and you take glibenclamide, you get the same effect.
But without the adverse effect.
That is it, but without the adverse effects.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Right?
So you see, nature has provided just about all that we need there. Just with the knowledge is what we need to get into.
So you have flaxseed, right, which is number 1. The Canadian Journal of Physiology and Pharmacology, that's this study. Get them a little worse where we get it from. An active fraction of flaxseed, which researchers named Linum usitasimum, an active fraction, they call it LU6, was found to generate a wide range of benefits in type 1 and type 2 diabetes. Improved glucose utilization in the liver. Supported normal glycogenesis, glucose forming activity in the liver and muscle tissue. Reduced pancreatic and intestinal glucosidase, which is the enzyme that has messed up the insulin sugar transfer in the system. Inhibitory activity, which translates into lower post-meal blood glucose elevations. In other words, if you eat, and when you eat, you take a tablespoon or 2 of flaxseed, you blend it up in water and you drink it before you eat, and then you eat. It tends to inhibit a large amount of sugar uptake in the intestines. On top of that, because it is flaxseed, which has a lot of soluble fiber and solid fiber, your consumption problems tend to disappear when you do that. So there's another aspect of it. It says, even more remarkable was the observation that this flaxseed compound normalized plasma insulin and C-peptide levels. It says C-peptide is a direct indicator of how much insulin is being produced by the beta cells rather than not C-reactive protein. The researchers described the truly amazing result as follows. Normalization of plasma insulin and C-peptide levels were observed. Endogenous insulin secretion after the use of LU6. The histochemical and immunohistochemical analysis of the pancreatic islet cells suggests that the role of LU6 fraction in islet regeneration and insulin secretion is evident in the increase of functional pancreatic islet producing insulin. Furthermore, significant insulin producing islet formations was also used in vitro after LU6 treatment. This suggests that the potential for LU6 fraction in the formation of new islet cells in vitro as well as in vivo. Thus, LU6 can be used as a treatment, as a nutraceutical-based first-line treatment for diabetes. So anybody who have diabetes, what they should do is use some flaxseed, you know, twice a day, you know. So that was my part of my bulletin board.
All right. So let's get into the meats of the matter.
Yes. So I had a very nice article here, and I decided that I would talk about it because so often the extraordinary power of magnesium. That's the name of the article. Recovery from stress, pain, inflammation, and indication of health status. And you get up and you have this ache in you and that ache in you and all kinds of things. If you are struggling with these issues without resolution, then something is very wrong. You shouldn't have all these aches and pains in your body. This article is about the extraordinary power of magnesium to drive our electric system for healing and recovery. Now, I have another little article here, and it says, why 80% of us are deficient in magnesium.
Okay.
80% worldwide, right? And then they talk about the studies and things like that. Magnesium deficiency is often misdiagnosed because it does not show up in any blood test. Only 1% of the body's magnesium is stored in the blood. Okay. So you don't have any direct way of measuring magnesium at the moment, you know.
But you will know from the way you're feeling.
Mm-hmm.
Aches and pains and that kind of thing.
Magnesium as a mineral is used by the liver, and it is used in over 2,000 enzymatic transfers because it is the electrical transfer mechanism in the body. The magnesium products are used to start and stop. So when you have, let's take a simple case. When you have muscle and you're sitting down here and you say, okay, I'm going to get up. Brain say, vroom, get up, vroom, legs, tense. To tense the legs, more calcium is poured into the muscle. When you pour calcium into the muscle contracts and you get up. When you reach a certain point and you want it to stop, it has to stop. So it lets go the calcium and it pours magnesium to get it to relax. So right away you understand that calcium, magnesium. Now they did some work and they found out that in order to have healthy muscle, when you have calcium and magnesium, you buy a calcium magnesium formula. That is a 2-to-1 ratio. You need two amounts of calcium and 1 amount of magnesium.
Okay.
So every calcium magnesium supplement that you buy is based on that research.
Okay.
But at the time when they did that umpteen years ago, it was short-sighted because you have magnesium being used by the liver for all kinds of enzymatic action to drive the electricity of the circuit. Let me give you an idea. The ATP cycle in the body, you know, the ribose, carnitine, magnesium, CoQ10, magnesium. Magnesium is the mineral that brings it together and causes it to fall apart and discharge electricity.
All right. Help me here. The ATP cycle
is the energy cycle in your cell.
That and the Krebs cycle is related?
Yes. Well, it is another cycle for transfer of nutrition and things like that. Okay. He says magnesium has been proven time and again to be an efficient anti-inflammatory nutrient, and nature has given us abundant magnesium salts from ocean water. All organisms on the planet require magnesium for life itself. Now, one of the nice things about it, he says that if you're living by the sea and you go in the sea regularly and bathe, you don't have a magnesium deficiency. It's absorbed. It's in the sea. And it's absorbed magnesium chloride straight through the skin.
So that explains why I've been feeling like I need a sea bath.
And you know their muscles just tighten up. You know.
You
And you see people and they say, oh God, boy, the muscles are always tight and all kinds of things like that. You know, always stiff. It's a demonstration of lack of magnesium. Constipation, lack of magnesium. Because if you go and you take magnesium salts, right, and you take a little bit too much, you instantly have diarrhea.
It's milk of magnesium.
Yes.
Magnesium.
The magnesium salt. They
Too
begin.
much of that will make it.
Yeah, that's what you take it for.
Yeah.
Right? It is called the master mineral electrolyte, as it is required for the balance of the electrical potential of cell membranes, stabilization of sodium-potassium electrolyte exchange. They have sodium-potassium exchange in the cell, you know, to create a potential across the cell of normally a healthy human being with the whole measuring device, voltage measuring device. You ever do that when you work? How much you get?
About 25 centimeters millivolts.
It should be about easy. So you need our CBAT. No, but if it's a little low, then it tells you that you're not as efficient as you should be.
Yeah.
So he says, stabilization of the sodium-potassium electrolyte balance, production and storage of the magnesium ATP cycle, and controlling calcium movement through the body. Right? Loss of potassium and gain of sodium and calcium happens after magnesium level gets too low, but not before. So if you don't have enough magnesium, you could lose sodium, you could lose calcium, you could lose potassium. Okay. You know? This potentially affects every single cell of the body, every enzyme, and every organ system, because cell membranes hold us together. Electrolyte balance and electrical conductance drive every function and every movement of the body.
All right, so electrolyte balance, that's the balance between calcium and magnesium?
Calcium, magnesium, potassium.
Okay.
You can get potassium, keeps the blood thin, sodium is supposed the blood to coagulate, you know, that kind, all that kind of stuff.
All right. Okay.
Low magnesium level, and then you have calcium level. When you have the surface of a cell, you have calcium too. That calcium level and the mechanics of the structure of the atom is what makes the immunity of the cell very strong. But we see also the magnesium plays a role in that too. Low magnesium level are associated with exacerbated inflammatory responses because magnesium deficient conditions lead to priming of the phagocytic cells.